Welcome friends to another r/entitled video. If you want a quick and easy way to prove that you're not entitled, all you gotta do is hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Morgana Nightfire, How My Mother Ruined Christmas. Some backstory: my mother, female 48, is a classic textbook case of a narcissist and a drug abuser. She abused me for as long as I can remember, both physically and mentally. I posted before in r/raised by narcissists about how she lost both her children. I had received a laptop from my then boyfriend, now fiance, male 29, in 2016 for my schoolwork, and so I could have something to do in the house since my mom stole all the electronics for herself. The laptop broke down a few months later because it was old already, and I put it aside so I could fix it. So I, female 23, lived with my mom until age 17. And here is the story of how she threw me out of the house and made me homeless. It was Christmas afternoon 2017, and my fiance and I were having Christmas lunch at my grandmother's house because it was tradition. My mom stayed home because she wasn't feeling well, and I thought nothing of it. Oh, how I would be wrong. Around 4 p.m., I get a text message from her saying, "Thank you for your Christmas present, the laptop works perfectly fine." I look over at my fiance with a look of confusion, and he shrugs and goes on with eating. Once we're done at grandma's, I shoot her a text saying, what do you mean? I already gave you your gift last night." To which she replies, "Well, you know that old dusty laptop in your room? I got it fixed so I can use it since my phone broke." At this point, my fiance noticed that I was getting angry and drove me to my mom's house to get the laptop back. Yes, people, she took my fiance's laptop that he had given to me and claimed it was hers now. So after a frustrating drive, we get home and I start arguing with her about the laptop. Her exact words were, and I freaking kid you not, "If you want it back, you'll have to pay me 80 euros. It's not cheap, and you know how I struggle with money." I saw red. My fiance held me back as I almost jumped at her. Once I was calm, in comes my mom with another beautiful line that made me snap. "If you don't like it, you can take all your trash and leave my house. The laptop was in my house, therefore it's my property." After those words, a huge yelling match ensued, and she hit me a couple times. She forcefully removed me from the house as my fiance decided to stay out of it. Smart move on his side. He didn't want to get involved as, for my sake, to not make it worse. He knows how she can get and knows it's best to comfort me afterwards, and she threw all my stuff out of the window. She kept the laptop, and I still don't know what happened to it. I wasn't allowed back in the house and basically was homeless for 5 months. I stayed with my fiance, but yeah, even when I asked her later about the encounter, she claims not to remember and that she never would do such a thing. I currently don't have contact with my mom because of reasons in the other post, but yeah, this sums it up pretty well. If your own mom was acting entitled like this and basically stole something that is not like a cheap thing to steal, it's a laptop, would it be tough for you to get the police involved and try to get your property back? Let me know if you would struggle with that in the comments down below. Our next story is by Blebry Tunny, Mother. Yeah, so my parents divorced when I was 8. I'm 30 now. Last year, my dad died from esophageal cancer. Backstory: it was freaking terrible. Like losing the only parent that loved my siblings and I. I'm talking about actual love, not loving us because they see a dollar sign imprinted in our foreheads. Anyways, Saturday will be a year since my dad's passed, and it's a rough week. How about yesterday, I received a call from my middle sister. She keeps saying, "I need to tell you something, but please don't get mad, you have to promise." Alright, after the 9th time of going back and forth, I say sure. My mother has told my little sister that she has plans on collecting my father's social security check when she turns 65. The actual freak? They haven't been married in over 2 decades, and my father actually remarried a year following their divorce and had remained with that same woman up until he died. I don't think she can legally do this, but the fact she thinks she's entitled to it freaking infuriates me. She's talked crap about my dad since their divorce, and if we're being honest, pretty much my whole freaking life. Last summer, I went to her house, and that witch had a picture of my dad on her freaking wall. I caused a huge scene and left with my dad's picture. I know how that woman works. She put it up so that when she entertains any company, she can point at that picture and say, "Oh, that was my ex-husband, he died of cancer," because that's how she is. Pity party, money hungry, untrustworthy, crap talking, pathetic person. I'm stuck not saying crap right now because I promised my sister, but the way this is festering, it probably is going to have to be one of those promises I have to break. Isn't it disgusting that this person has been divorced for over 20 years from this person, but after their death, they immediately make plans to somehow collect their social security check? The world was barely into the new millennium when they got married, yet they're still out here expecting that they can somehow make a buck off this guy? Our next story is by Apart Masterpiece 393. My mom called me fat after my grandma told me I'm beautiful. I don't get along with my parents. It was my son's 6th birthday, and my mom invited us over, Arizona to California, 5.5-hour drive to come over to have dinner and cake at her place. I haven't spoken to the rest of my family, brothers, dad, grandparents, aunts, uncles, for years due to my mom lying about what I'm doing with my life. I have too much anxiety speaking with them because I don't want to expose my mom or say the wrong thing to piss her off. Well, my grandma FaceTimed my mom while I was over. After I'd answered, she told me I look beautiful. When my mom heard this, she said, "You're getting fat." I'm not fat, but my entire life, she's called me fat and ugly, to the point I started starving myself when I was 13 to meet her expectations of beauty. I was always too dark, too short, too fat, too ugly, too stupid. She was physically, mentally, and verbally abusive my whole life. Now I have depression, anxiety, CPTSD, and body dysmorphia. My other grandma, Dad's mom, who she was a witch to while we were growing up, died last week, and they held her funeral and didn't even tell me. I called my mom out on it, and she acted like I'm the bad guy for calling her out. Also, her birthday is a day after mine, March 26th, and my whole childhood, teenage, and adult life, I've had to put my birthday aside or spent my birthday finding her a present. Otherwise, she'd throw a tantrum. Now this year, after everything, I really want to cut her off. But if she sends me a present, do I send one back? Should I be nice on her birthday at least? Background: she kicked me out when I was 19 with a 16-month-old, and I moved across the country and worked 3 jobs and put myself through college without her caring that I was living in a car and sleeping hungry every night for days on end, living off mostly water. She still holds stuff over my head from when I was 5, 20 years ago, and tells me what a bad person I was and everything wrong I did starting from age 5 and up. Personally, I feel like it does not matter. Whether it's your parents, whether it's your friends of 15 years, if these are people that are treating you like crap or have treated you like crap your entire life and still continue to do so, you don't have any obligation to be nice to them, contact them, acknowledge them. They kicked you and your baby out and left you for nothing. God forbid she doesn't start getting presents on her birthday for that in return. Our next story is by Wise Scientist 2966. Entitled Sister got upset I wanted 30 minutes alone with my daughter on her birthday. So it's my daughter's 6th birthday, and we're throwing a party for her Saturday, but her actual birthday's on a Thursday. My little girl loves her birthday. My sister came out for her birthday. I've posted about her before. She's obsessed with my little one, and whenever she comes to visit, feels like every second she's here, she should be able to spend with her. To the point where she'll get upset that her dad, who I co-parent with, takes her a couple of days a week. Mind you, she stays for weeks at a time, so she expects him to not see her for weeks. Well, for her birthday, before Entitled Sister even got here, daughter's dad said he'd be picking her up from school and doing something with her on the day of her birthday, which I said was fine. Well, when I told Entitled Sister, she kinda got annoyed but said whatever, she'll just do presents and stuff with her before school. I remind her that we need to be on our way to school by 7:30 cause she doesn't care about time, only hers. So whatever she wanted to do, she needed to be done by then. Mind you, after her dad drops her back off, she's going to spend the entire night and the rest of the weekend with him. Well, when it's time to drop my kid off, she starts to get ready, and I say as nicely as possible that I wanted to drive her myself. She lost it. She wanted to take pictures and drop her off too, so she could spend time with her since she wasn't going to pick her up after school. I was going to lose it as well, but I just said, listen, you just spent an hour and a half with her and will spend the rest of the night with her. Her dad will be spending time with her after school. Is it okay if the person who actually birthed this human gets 30 minutes alone with her? And I turned around and walked out. Needless to say, the rest of the trip was just as uncomfortable as many of her other trips when she tries to pull this stuff. She also once again only bought a one-way ticket but was in for quite the surprise when she found out that unlike before, I was work for home and still am technically, but go into the office more often, there wouldn't be a car available for her to pick up my little one every day after school, and her dad would be. There's not much she could do about it because it's not like she can walk to go get her, and the school's far. She ended up buying her ticket back pretty quickly when she found herself sitting in my apartment doing nothing while I was working, and the little one was at school, and then her dad's. Please, older sisters out there, remember that your youngest sister is a separate person, and just because you're older, you're not entitled to everything, especially not your siblings' children. I will say the one great thing about the entitled sister here is they clearly adore their niece. Like the fact that they want to spend every waking moment being there with them and hanging out with them and doing stuff, that's fantastic. It's great that their family wants to be that involved with them. But obviously, like Opie's describing, they're going way overboard with it and being like weirdly possessive. It would be nice to have this picturesque family vacation where every waking moment is spent hanging out with your niece and doing fun activities, but people have lives, and like there's routines that you can't just ignore just to have this magical fun time together. It's probably just OP not wanting to rock the boat, but there's probably situations here where OP just needs to put their foot down a little bit more. Our next story is by Happy Feels. Entitled mother thinks it's perfectly fine to let their child destroy hours of work that I did. I saw another post that reminded me about this. It happened about 10 years ago. I worked at a grocery store childcare center, and we do all kinds of fun stuff for the kids. Movie parties, pizza parties, play GameCube with them, make crafts, story time. It was an absolute blast to work there, and I just adored all the kids, as we'd get to know them from their parent shopping weekly. It was great, except for one mom. Let's call her Jerkface Mom Butt, or JFMB for short. We created this entire environment of fun for the kids from the time they walked up to us to get signed in until they left. It was winter, and we had built a fireplace for the kids to hang their stockings on that was right on the outside window, so parents could see what they had made while in the play place, along with a banner that announced a movie night that was hanging across the front of the sign-in area, so the kids would walk under it as their parents signed them in. It was high up enough for adults to walk under, but not super high up. Two of our regular girls came in, girls ages 4 and 6, and as JFMB was signing them in, she got a phone call. So she pretty much ignored her girls. Both of them were jumping up trying to tap the banner, but one of them accidentally pulled it. Great kids, honestly I think it was an accident, and it tore a bit. I said very nicely, as I knew these were kids and knew they weren't jerks, "Hi girls, can you do me a big favor and not tap the banner? It looks like it might need a bit of fixing and it might fall down." And Jerkface Mom Butt slams her hand on the sign-in desk to get my attention, still on the phone, not looking at her kids, and says, "Do not parent my children. I'm their mother. I will parent them." I told her to please do so then, as we worked very hard on the banner and didn't want it destroyed or for the kids to get hurt. She was not happy and turned around to tell the girls they were not going in today, then turned back and shot me an evil look with a smirk as she put her phone away. Both girls started crying. The mom was all, No, stop it, you're not going. Let's go shopping now," and grabs one of them, 6-year-old, by the arm and starts pulling her away. The other kid just lost it and had the biggest meltdown I had ever witnessed, and Jerkface Mom Butt grabbed her by the arm as well and told her to shut up. They were going home and she'll come back without them. Meanwhile, I'm just standing there watching it unfold like, what the freak, lady, are you crazy? She now has both girls by their arms in that mom grip we all do and is going to drag them out. She turns back to me and says something akin to, "I hope you're happy that you caused this." And I guess she could read my face because I didn't say anything, but she got even madder. She dropped one of the kids' arms and started ripping stockings kids had made off the fireplace and tossing them on the ground. At that point, I just called the front desk and told them what was happening, and they sent a manager over. Jerkface Mom Butt ended up getting her kids banned from the play place for 3 months. It was all on camera. She never apologized. Still brought them once her ban was over. Even though this mom never apologized for what they did, I hope being banned for 3 months made them sit around, have to find extra accommodation for these kids and realize, maybe I shouldn't have acted out that way. Also, in my opinion, screw this entitled mother for just totally ruining crafts that other innocent kids made just to try to get some kind of satisfaction. This next story is by Fat Dogs. My mother decided my inheritance won't pay for my college after I told her she should get a VPN. My mother bought an Android TV box that can stream any new show or movie for free, which I told her was technically illegal, but her response was, "Streaming isn't illegal because we aren't downloading the content." And I said aight and left it. Turns out our internet service provider isn't too keen on this though, and throttles our whole network to unbearable speeds when the box is in use. However, the box will hog all the throttled bandwidth so the movie will still stream, but every other device will be kicked off the network. When I told my mother about this, or asked them to just pause it for a bit so I'm able to get any work done, her response is always, "I pay for the internet and it seems to be working, so you can deal with not having internet while I'm watching TV." I've been dealing with this for 2 weeks now. I was disqualified from 2 job interview technical tests, had to plead to retake a midterm with my professor, and often get booted when I'm on a call with my girlfriend, whom is long distance going to school, and we only get 2 or 3 hours to talk a day. When they left for a bit today, I did some troubleshooting and found that a VPN fixes the problem. So when they came back, I told her that a VPN fixes the problem and they should use one anyway since the activities are illicit, and it also helps keep their information safe. Her response, unsurprisingly, was, "I bought the box to stop paying for subscriptions. I'm not going to pay for something when the TV works just fine. You can live without internet." I thought she'd at least be reasonable, and I was going to offer to pay for half the yearly subscription to ExpressVPN, $100 a year. But instead, I was just shocked and left. Shortly after, she came to me and told me that I should just pay for the VPN because I'm the one who would be using it anyways. I told her that's not how it works. I wouldn't be using it, but I'll split the cost with her. She didn't like that answer because she then started to go off saying, "You're 22 and you don't pay for anything. You should start at least paying for rent and to use our internet." Now I know that statement doesn't sound too bad, Reddit, and I agree, taken out of context, it's probably fine. But here's some background for context. My parents told me that I can live rent-free till I graduate college, which led me to go to the local university to save money and not have to pay for room and board. My tuition, on the other hand, is just barely covered through a small sum of money my grandfather left me when he passed. But the account holder's name is my mother's. If that doesn't cover my tuition, I would pay it myself out of pocket. My brother, on the other hand, moved out to go to college, and his financials are a different story. My mother fully pays for his tuition, room and board, and groceries, so he doesn't have to work while he goes to school. The tuition and room and board together for him are almost 3 times what my tuition alone costs, and yet she pays that without batting an eye. Anyways, to continue the story, my mother continued going off, telling me that starting now, I'll have to pay rent. It'll be $1,200 a month. I have to pay for the VPN so I can access the internet. Also, I'll have to be paying for the internet since you're the only one who uses it anyways, and finished off her list of demands by stating, also, the trust won't be covering your tuition anymore, so you need to pay me back the $26,000 that it's paid so far. I was silent and just left. I broke down into tears when I got to my car and just started driving. I haven't talked to her since, and I'm just fuming that she would hold my inheritance ransom. I have 2 months till I graduate and was planning to just yeet out of here the day I do, but every month it's something else that's my fault and I have to pay for. It started off with groceries. I now buy over half the groceries and make dinner for me and my parents 4 days a week because you should start making us dinner since you should learn to cook. Then when I got my tax refund, she made me give her half of it because I did your taxes, so I deserve your tax refund, which I didn't ask her to do. I just came home from work one day and she had already filed them. Same thing with the stimulus checks during COVID. You shouldn't have gotten the stimulus check. It should be mine since I'm your mother. After they didn't qualify because their income was too much. Me and my father are going to see a show tonight. He sees the stark contrast in the way she treats me compared to my brother, and has even told me before that, "I know she treats you differently than everyone else, and you just need to not cause a ruckus or stir up anything with your mother and just leave as soon as you graduate." But he won't actually stand up to her or oppose her on anything, so whatever she says goes. I definitely don't know all the specifics for a lot of these situations on like what the right way to handle it is, especially when it comes to like trusts and what rights you have and what she has. But it sounds to me that living with them sucks. And as soon as you can possibly afford independence, you should probably try to split yourself away from them as soon as possible. Our next story is by Witches COVID-99. Stop drinking in a beer garden in front of my child. So here in the UK, we've had some sunshine and the weather's gone above 10 degrees outside. So that means the British are free. Everyone's flocking to pubs, beer gardens, fields for day drinking and barbecues, etc. I went to a pub recently with my friends that had a beer garden attached, and so we decided to sit outside in the gentle breeze and sunshine. Here's where I first clocked our entitled mother. How did I clock her, you ask? Her child was jumping from chair to chair and laying on tables. Yes, laying across tables when people were trying to sit down. Heck spawn. Anyway, my friends and I were chatting, catching each other up on life, yada yada, when we ordered some alcoholic drinks. This is important to specify. This went on until we were on our third round of drinks and we were getting giggly. We decided to stand up and walk to the balcony, which overlooks some flower beds, and chat there before returning to our table for the food. On the way back, our entitled mother decided to stand up and try to knock the drink out of my friend's hand. I stood the heck back in shock and just stared, but my mate has much faster reflexes than me. And this glass was one of those red wine type glasses, so she had a good grasp of it anyway. She recovered from the shock with only spilling a little of her drink and, I assume without thinking beforehand, tipped the rest of the drink on this mother. She was shocked. I was shocked. Her child was shocked. The other bar goers were shocked. Nobody really spoke for a few minutes. My friend, from now on as Amber, said, "And what the heck were you trying to do there?" Entitled mother said, "You were being too loud and getting far too drunk. It's 4 p.m. on a weekday. What's your problem?" Amber says, "What does it matter? Who the heck are you?" The entitled mother says, "It matters because my child's watching you throw those back," referring to our drinks. Amber says, "Your child's climbing on crap and being much more of a nuisance than we are." I say, "Also, we aren't being all that loud. Like, not all of us are drinking, so if we were disturbing anyone, then they would have quieted us down." The entitled mother says, "You shouldn't be drinking at 4 p.m. It's a weekday. It's bloody ridiculous." Amber says, "It's a freaking pub garden, you nonce." Our entitled mother grabbed her stuff and dragged your child into the indoor section of the pub. We were expecting someone to come outside and tell us to leave, but no one ever did. There was an old couple who sat not too far away, who approached us a little bit later and told us that the entitled mother had been on the phone before we arrived, and they think she got dumped at the table because of the swearing and cussing she had done before. Lovely old gentleman. It's not an excuse, but maybe she couldn't let others be happy when she was in a bad mood. Rightly said. No, this entitled mother dumped? Why would anybody dump this lady? I could in no way imagine why anybody would do such a possible thing. Well, this just blows my mind and ruins my day, that poor lady. I'm sure she didn't deserve it at all. Our next story is by Trurisky. Entitled mom gets mad at me because I didn't want to give her my lunch. This happened around an hour ago, and I thought the whole ordeal was kinda hilarious. So I'm going to share it here so we can all get a laugh out of it too. So I'm at the store, only hint is it's Kroger owned, and as I get in, my first stop is getting some lunch for myself. They usually have this wing bar with some plexiglass covering it because my state's still a little hot with the virus going around, but my town's mostly safe. One of the perks of being in a small town, I guess. I wasn't really paying attention to my surroundings as, honestly, the place was rather busy, and I was just focused on getting my stuff and getting out like I normally do. Here's where the entitled mother and her kid enters the scene right behind me. She taps my shoulder rather aggressively as I finish putting the lid on my little bowl of meat. She looked like she was in her late 40s, and her kid was just behind her, just on her phone. She looked about 10, I want to say, but I can't really be sure, but definitely a kid still. The entitled mother said, "Hey, my daughter wants her wings. Hand them over." And at this point, she just sticks her hands out with a scowl. I'm guessing she was just expecting me to say, "Oh, sure, why not?" I say, "No, I'm about to move out of your way anyway, and there's plenty to go around." She said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Give them to me now." She actually kind of screamed now like it was an order. I said, "As I said, I'm about to get out of your way so you can get it yourself. Now if you'll excuse me." The entitled mother looked enraged at the fact that I wasn't about to do as she demanded and actually moved her cart in front of me. I wasn't using one since I wasn't going to be getting much anyway. Then she said, "If you don't listen to me, I'll get a manager here and get you banned. Don't you know who I am? Now give me your food, my child is hungry," as she points to her kid. The kid looked like they just wanted to melt into the floor in embarrassment. She just said, "Mom, it's fine, let's just go." Luckily, someone heard the commotion and walked up to the entitled mother, and as he was about to ask if everything was all right, the entitled mother started going off on him, saying I stole her food and she wanted me arrested. He just laughed and said, "I'll take care of it, just finish your shopping." And so I did. I don't know what happened at the end, but honestly, the whole thing just made me laugh. Hopefully the kid won't end up like her mother. OP's last sentence here is definitely my takeaway in most of these situations with a kid. You see these kids and you know they're exposed to that Karen behavior and you're like, I just really hope that does not imprint. You hope they're the kind of kids that are actually socially aware more than their own parents are, even at young ages. And you can tell when these mothers are Karening out, the kids are on the side like grimacing, or you could tell they're kind of apologetic but don't say anything. And our final story of the day is by Reader Mom of One, entitled Egg Donor Messages Me Through Social Media After No Contact for 9 Months. A few nights ago, I was contacted by my egg donor, my mother. I can't call her that because a mother wouldn't do what she did to me growing up. I'm currently in therapy trying to deal with my feelings and letting go of everything that's happened to me because of her. The moment I saw her message, I froze. I had this sinking feeling in my chest, but I also couldn't breathe. Everything I worked so hard for to put her out of my mind came running back. The reason I cut her out was because of how toxic and a narcissist she is. All her insecurities were pushed on me. Everything that was wrong in her life was my fault. So to break free, I cut her off. This is what she said to me. It might not make sense because it was translated to English, but hopefully you get the gist of what she's saying. Egg Donor said, 1. I know that I was not the mother you wanted, but there's no book that they sell for it, and with time you'll understand what a mother is like. I was always there for everything. I always wonder what I did wrong, and the answer ends in I love you with the soul. And in the end, it matters. I want you to always be here for life. Although many times are borrowed, excuse me for not being the mom you wanted. But sometimes you don't play with what God didn't give. Just remember what's here, and wherever, I carry you in my heart forever. 2. I understand if you don't want to keep contact with me, but with your father, do it. He's already old and I think he needs you. I ask you to remember the good times with your dad, as they were always good. 3. Remember that I love you very much, and no matter what happens, my house will always be your house. 4. Don't answer me. 5. I don't want any insults. She said that because she saw me writing her back, and I said this. I don't care what you feel, you've never apologized once for how you treated me, how you insulted me or anything. You were never a mother. You stopped being a mother the day you left me when I was 14. You're selfish, narcissistic, hypocrite. Your punishment is knowing that you'll never be in my life or my children's lives ever again. All your actions as an adult were clear. You're the most selfish person I've ever met. And despite how cruel and evil you were, I'm better than you because I never want to be anything like you. In this whole message, you never once said I'm sorry because you're so selfish. You only think about you and what you want. You'll never hear from me. My father will never hear from me. No one will. The day you kicked me out and spat on my face is the day I died for all of you. I blocked her and I thought that was the end. That was the first message I ever said in those 9 months I've been no contact. It broke me in a way, but whatever. An hour later, she found another one of my social media, a new one I created that no way she could have found me, but she said this. Sorry for everything. I know that sometimes words hurt more than blows, and I understand that it's too late. But don't forget that we love you with the heart. That's the most fakest apology ever. She couldn't even say what she's sorry for. She only said sorry because I said it. I blocked her and deactivated my social media for a while. Anytime my phone vibrates, I have the sinking feeling it's her. I'm sorry for whatever this is. I just needed to share it with people who aren't close to me. It's been weighing on me for days. No one deserves to have such crappy parents. I hope I can be better for me and for my child. I definitely think one of the greatest things about this story is OP is using this in a somewhat motivational way to try to be a better parent for their kids, which is great. And I agree with a lot of the sentiment OP's saying, where these people treated you like nothing growing up and kicked you out. They don't deserve anything from you, and you have every right to just want to go no contact and never see them again. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.